Hey everybody, this is Dan Selke, editor at winteriscoming.net. I'm joined by Cheryl Wassenaar, the editor at Culturist.
Hi Dan.
Hello, and this is Wick Live, our weekly show, Wednesdays at 4. We go over the latest news, rumors, bits of interesting stuff about Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, and everything in between.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be back.
Of course. Kayla Kinnear, my usual co-host, is in New York. No, she's in Bahamas, celebrating her birthday. She went to New York once. I got it confused.
It's okay. I forgive you.
But it's too bad she's not here because there is a lot that happened this week about Game of Thrones and the Game of Thrones sphere that we're going to discuss. And if any of you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to put them in the feed. We'll answer them. We'll talk to you. We'll have a good time. All right.
Pretty simple.
And again, thanks for joining us, Cheryl.
Of course.
So I will warn you guys, this is going to be a spoiler-tastic kind of cast, because there's some big stuff that went down, some very important things. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Game of Thrones Season 8, I recommend muting us for a little bit, not going anywhere else, that would be insane, but muting us for a minute so you don't hear what's going to come, because it's going to be some big stuff.
Consider yourselves warned.
Exactly. All right, let's start with some we'll lead into it with some gentle things that aren't going to be too bad.
Okay.
The cast members are starting to waggle their tongues a bit about what's coming in Season 8. I think it's because the DVD Blu-ray is going to come out next week.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
There's a lot of press blitz happening right now about what's going to come up for that. But Liam Cunningham, who is one of the show's greatest kind of frontmen.
He is.
Gave an interview to Metro, said he read the scripts, we're going to get beautiful storytelling, huge surprises, wonderful stuff. I can safely say it will be a fantastic, fantastic finish to this incredible story, this being Game of Thrones Season 8.
Yes.
That's a good or a bad thing, Cheryl?
I mean, the fact that they're hyping it up early can only, I think, be considered a good thing, just because, we could be up to 2 years away from Season 8 at this point.
It's unfortunate to think about.
So it's good that we're already hearing positive things from the cast. Do I think that, of course it's a little bit hyperbole, but it's publicity. It's always a little bit hyperbole.
And he's great at that. He's very good at getting out in front and just...
It's great to read things from him. I think it's because everyone understands that Liam Cunningham, as Davos Seaworth, he's kind of the cool uncle or dad figure of the show at this point.
Avuncular is the word.
Avuncular would be the word. There's our SAT word of the day. So I think in that sense, it's really great to see him talking the show up, just because he's great.
He's adorable, yeah.
He's adorable. So I'm excited to see that he's excited.
Cool. By the way, I'm having a little trouble getting your comments here on the iPad, so we have Hunter manning the switchboard. If you see any good comments, Hunter, call them on out, all right?
They love the beard. That's
What's
what
that?
I'm hearing so far. They're loving your beard.
I'm really glad, people, because this is a risk. I never grew a beard before, so thank you very much.
I always believed in you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jason Momoa also talking it up, former cast member, but he's, close with the cast members, and he talks to them, and he got the skinny on it. Said it's going to be the greatest thing that's ever aired on TV. It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to...
Expletive deleted.
Up a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I love Jason Momoa being
I say go ahead and get as high as your hopes can possibly go.
Absolutely.
Why not just shoot for the stars?
The sun and stars?
I love it.
I'll just see myself out now, guys.
Knowing what we know about what's coming, it could very well be as amazing as people are saying it is, because there are some big spoilers that broke. I want to talk about them. I'm excited to talk about them, but they are huge. So again, just beware.
Large.
All right. So the spoilers are these. We've known for a while.
Give me the goods.
The production is building an enormous set.
We have talked about it before.
We have at Titanic Studios in Belfast. We got a picture of it here. This is actually how it used to look a while back. There's more of it now. You can see just the expanse of it is kind of the watchword. How it's bigger than any man-made set they've used before. Right. A lot of manpower on this.
Absolutely.
And actually now it's even bigger. There are more towers added to it. It has some paint on it.
Oh, paint!
It's starting to really look like a city now. Whereas here it kind of looks like a ramshackle, Blazing Saddles type, front.
Yes.
But in any case, it's huge, and we now know two very important things, courtesies of Watchers on the Wall, which is a great Game of Thrones fan site. Okay, spoiler number one is that the site, this is the lesser of the two, that it's going to be King's Landing.
Okay.
Which is, I think we kind of figured that.
We kind of were speculating about King's Landing.
I mean, nothing that big. I don't know what else it could possibly be.
Right. Okay. So
it's good to have that confirmed.
Right.
The second spoiler, and this is the huge one, people. So last chance.
Remember.
All right.
Large.
Now you might be asking yourself, Cheryl, in the past when they've done King's Landing, they've just gone to like an old European city,
absolutely,
filmed it, and said this is King's Landing. Like they were in Girona, Spain. Dubrovnik, Croatia stood in for it a lot.
Right.
So why this year are they having to build a whole set to stand in for it?
Because they're gonna burn it down.
Because they are going to burn it down. Should be a lot of fun to watch, by the way. So, by the way, that obviously means that in Season 8, a large swath of King's Landing is going to get lit up.
Literally, not figuratively.
And then, to make it even more exciting, the reason it's going to be on fire.
Yes.
And again, these are proper spoilers, folk. These are actual things. So if you don't want to know, I'm just too late now.
You've gone
it's
past
dragon
the point.
fire.
Dragons.
Now just let that sink in for a second.
I can imagine the visuals now.
In Game of Thrones Season 8, I can too. King's Landing, this iconic location for the show that stood for all 7 seasons, is kind of maybe the most important location in the show.
Absolutely.
I think. Like Winterfell is the only thing that's even in its league.
I think that's fair.
And I wouldn't say it's the same because it's been there all seven seasons so far. King's Landing is going to get attacked by dragons or a dragon. We're not really sure.
Right.
And burn down. Like I can just picture the catharsis or the impact that will have after.
It's going to be the loot train attack on steroids.
It's beyond the loot train attack.
On steroids.
Because this is an iconic location.
Absolutely. But with the loot train attack, they showed that they could really do a full-blown devastation, desolation.
Dragon attack. Right.
So now they're putting their skills to use, and they're going to do it bigger and badder. Only appropriate for the final season, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're going to burn down your main location, save it for the final season.
Absolutely.
The big question I have for you, and I think for everybody. Oh, do we have a question? If you have any questions, keep them coming.
Just off the
or comments.
You guys are talking about, Karen wants to know: do you think the dragons will battle each other?
Oh, I would love that.
Ooh, that would be good.
Will the dragons battle each other? I mean, that's the question. So we know it's dragon fire.
Yes.
We know King's Landing is going to burn, or at least part of it.
Right.
We don't know if the entire thing will. But the big question is, which dragon are we talking about? Are we talking about Daenerys attacking it with Drogon and Rhaegal? Or are we talking about the Night King attacking it with Zombie Viserion? Or maybe the other two that he's picked up by then?
I still don't see Daenerys burning down King's Landing unless she goes full Mad Queen. But I don't think that's really possible. I think the narrative has kind of been hinting towards Cersei kind of fulfilling that mad, power-hungry role a little more than Daenerys. So my heart kind of says it's the Night King. But
the idea you would hope.
Yeah, but the idea of the dragons fighting each other over King's Landing,
so good.
A+. I love it. I want to see it now. That's my headcanon.
It could be both. I mean, why couldn't it be the Night King gets down there? Daenerys is there to try and face him. It's a dragon-on-dragon battle.
Embracing the power of and.
The power of and. I like that.
Yeah.
Is that a book or a bumper sticker somewhere?
Probably.
Okay.
I picked it up somewhere.
No, that would be really juicy.
I mean, that would be.
I have always wanted Daenerys to go crazy and torch stuff. I think it would just be good narratively as a good story twist.
Yeah, I think it would too.
I mean, my thing is I'm not sure there's time left.
No.
But I mean, I wasn't sure there'd be time to burn down King's Landing, and someone's going to do it.
And yet it's happening.
And I'm pretty excited about that.
Embracing it.
Any other questions or comments, Hunter, about who it might be, what's it going to be, or anything otherwise?
We got one about, why are we not assuming this when Cersei does?
Oh.
Related to the dragons, maybe?
So, assuming that it is the dragons instead of Cersei burning it down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the spoiler is it's dragons.
Yeah, that's the report.
That's what's going to happen.
Is that it's dragons. I mean, I could see where...
Well, she gets a hold of one.
If she ever gets a hold of one. I mean, she did it with the Sept of Baelor, where she blew it to Kingdom Come, pun fully intended.
I remember I told you that one of my kind of dream scenarios was King's Landing exploding or burning down in some way.
You did. Now that you say that, I remember it.
I thought it would be Cersei lighting the wildfire under the whole thing and just blowing it sky high.
So
but this will work too.
We'll take it. We're not picky about our
I just think it would be a great way to end the show, you know? Just because it's this symbol of kind of corruption the whole time. It would be a great kind of cathartic, symbolic way to burn it all down.
Exactly. And the thing was, you know, I kind of picked up on this when I was talking about it on Culturist, is that we've seen Daenerys in a vision walk through kind of the ruined throne room with snow falling.
We absolutely have.
And even in season 7, we had seen scenes where it was quote unquote snowing in King's Landing that didn't actually really make it into the show. So they were probably some of the fake ones that have been reportedly shot already.
I mean,
so, but there have been scenes where there's snow in like
made it into the show.
No. Oh, that's right.
It was after Jaime leaves. At the we see snowfall everywhere.
But yeah, that's right. Okay. Just kidding.
You're wrong.
I am wrong. Sometimes. That's my quota for the year. I'm done. But I think the problem was we saw it with Jaime and Cersei together, and it was snowing. Was the thing, I think, off the top of my head. It's been a while. Okay.
All we saw was them filming snow in just an empty street, which is what we got.
That's right. Okay. Just kidding. I'm never coming back on this show again. But the thing is, we've already seen kind of that ruined King's Landing.
We have seen that, yeah.
And I think, you know, even though Dany leaving Drogo in that vision, as she does afterwards, is, you know, kind of metaphorical, I don't think that necessarily means that the ruined throne room is metaphorical. It could be very literal.
It could be, although it is nice that it's still kind of kept vague a little bit.
Right.
There's also a vision that Bran has in season 4, really briefly. He touches a tree, and for a split second we see a shadow of a giant dragon flying over King's Landing.
Yep.
We never got that image.
No.
And I thought we wouldn't because they're heading up north, but I mean, who knows? Now it's entirely possible.
Yeah, call
if
it all
this is going, it could still happen.
I'm gonna call all the old stuff back in.
I'm very excited.
I guess we have to rewatch all the seasons now.
Drat. And we have over a year to do it, might as well. I'm looking
the struggle's real. The struggle's real.
All right, so that's pretty intense.
Yes. Very exciting.
There's one other minor, not really a spoiler, that we're past the giant spoiler part of it now.
Unmute us.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did, even though I was wrong.
They are going to return to Iceland to film certain scenes.
Yes.
Now Iceland, you know, icy place. Usually stands in for areas beyond the wall, the north.
Right.
That's where they filmed Jon Snow and his merry men taking down all the whites and hunting the white and on the frozen island, all that rigmarole.
Right.
So they could return to that. It'd be exciting, but we're not sure.
Yeah, no, we're not sure. I kind of like the idea of kind of these sweeping shots of Jaime as he makes his way north.
That'd be nice, yeah.
That would be nice.
Over frozen tundra-like areas.
That's kind of my dream. It's much smaller than King's Landing being set ablaze, but you know.
It would just be so metaphorically appropriate.
Exactly. You know, the lone man on his horse.
Oh no, I mean my blow up thing.
Oh, well that too.
Screw your subtle Jaime runs across the ice thing.
First he tells me I'm wrong, now he's dashing all my dreams. At this point, I'm not just gonna come back because I don't want to.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The wrong thing was you were wrong. This is just a difference of opinion.
Okay, that's true, that's fair. I guess you're forgiven.
Okay.
For now.
Okay, before we get into A Song of Dan and Josh, which is our weekly read through A Song of Ice and Fire, let's have a little bit of fun quickly. You may not have heard, but I'm glad that some brave soul, finally said what we were all thinking. The heroes at GQ in their January issue, the brave souls at GQ, have said what we're all thinking and said that Kit Harington is the worst dressed man of the year. Which, I mean...
First of all...
How can you argue with that?
First of all...
He's such a disgusting looking man.
First of all, no. Second of all, no. And third of all...
Come on, Cheryl. Cheryl, look at this picture of Kit Harington at a BBC One event. And, you know, he's wearing a shirt and a pants and some shoes and a watch. He looks like a mess.
He looks
I can't
like
believe he went out like that.
any generic dude.
It's despicable. Look at him here in this, you know, jacket. at
It's a great jacket.
a jacket and a black shirt.
Okay, I will admit that the
He's
black
a
on
travesty.
black. I will admit that the black on black is a
It's
little Night's Watch / Sith Lord.
I like it.
But the pattern on the jacket's great.
I'm kidding, obviously.
I know you're kidding.
They named Kit Harington the worst dressed man of the year. How is that possible? There's nobody worse. You couldn't find a single person worse.
I can find like 5 off the top of my head. You're gonna make me do it, aren't you?
No, I feel like you want to do it.
I kind of want to do it.
Why don't you go with 3?
Okay.
Let's do that.
Johnny Depp, Robert Downey Jr., and Tom Cruise.
That was real quick. But I agree. I think it's political. That's what I think.
Oh, it's political now.
Okay.
Where's my tinfoil hat?
Really fast before we get into a song about
Tinfoil
Dan
hat.
Okay, what I heard completely unverified on Twitter is
Yes,
that
Twitter rumors are the best.
one of the people who voted on the worst dress list works for Giorgio Armani.
Okay.
Might have been Giorgio Armani.
Okay.
You know, big fashion brand. And Kit Harington is currently a spokesperson for Dolce & Gabbana, a Armani competitor. So it might have been a part of a fashion conspiracy to take him down. I thought the whole thing was so stupid. I just wanted to bring it up.
It's so cloak and dagger. I love it.
I love the idea of like high-powered fashion executives having squabbles and conspiracies.
That is
and scabs.
deeply, deeply petty if true, and I can appreciate the petty.
Anyway, is there anybody commenting on Fashion Gate 2017?
Oh yeah.
Herringgate.
All on the same page. Someone said Kit Harington's the hottest man alive besides my husband.
Besides, of course.
Can support that.
Anyway,
Herringgate.
maybe Herringgate. It's nice.
Yes.
In
All the
more
puns.
benign news, he was also left off the Critics' Choice Awards ballot.
That's true.
Amelia Clarke, Peter Dinklage, both nominated for Best Supporting Actor and Actress, respectively, or Actress and Actor, respectively.
Words are hard.
And I thought I did a pretty good job. And
You
the
did.
show itself nominated for Best Drama.
Yep.
Kit Harington not on the list. It's a shame.
A little bit, but you know.
My theory is they'll have the huge awards glut for season 8, and
Yeah.
they're just kind of doing a few here for season 7.
Right. Yeah. I think that what's going to end up happening is, you know, they're all going to get. Well, not all of them, obviously, but some of them are going to get the "we're sorry we didn't give this to you"
Sure, yeah.
as many times as we probably could have. So please have the awards.
It'd be fun if for season 8 the nominees were just nothing but Game of Thrones cast members and like one other person thrown in for fun.
The internet would explode. Conflagration of hot takes.
It'll be a Return to the King situation where they
Yeah.
kind of hold off on giving the awards for the first 2, and then they give them all for the third one.
Yeah, I can
To
support
award
that.
the whole thing.
I can support that.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Yes.
Anyway, Cheryl, thanks for coming by. I really enjoyed having
Thanks,
you.
Dan.
Good talk.
It
Good
was
spoilers.
good to be here. Always
and now,
appreciate the spoilers.
of course,
So,
I'd like to invite on Josh Hill
here he comes.
for a song of Dan and Josh.
Enjoy.
I will.
Bye, everyone. It was good to see you.
Hi, Josh Hill. We were just talking about
Hello.
you.
I heard. I was
Cool.
standing just off camera.
Hi,
Movie
everybody.
Magic.
Movie magic.
There you go.
Production wizardry. So everybody, this is a Song of Dan and Josh. We are reading through a Game of Thrones, reading through the entire Song of Ice and Fire series, one book at a time, one chapter at a time.
Yeah.
And I've read all the books multiple times. Josh has seen the show but not read the books.
Nope.
This is first time through. So we're going through, kind of looking through it for interesting bits of analysis, of insight, of breakdowns, of thematic exploration, and a journey into the heart of one of the greatest stories ever told. I just kind of started that. I wasn't sure where I was going to end up. But
I liked it. It ended up good. Maybe sounds a little bit like George R.R. Martin, but I don't know.
Bit of a run on. All right, so we read 3 chapters this week, Josh.
Did. Yeah.
Let's just dive right in with the second Ned Stark chapter.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like we've been reading for a while. Do you feel like the story is still kind of in its infancy, which it is, or does it feel like you've been at this for a little bit now?
It's a little weird because I found out, because they're not numbered chapters 1, 2, 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
This is like the 13th chapter or
Right.
something like that, and I didn't know that. It flows a lot smoother than I thought it was going to, and it does feel like it's still a little bit in its infancy because we're still learning about
We
these
are
characters.
going pretty
still.
slow.
I know, and there's a lot of world building involved still. A couple of chapters after this Neddard one, the Ed, whatever, we end up getting kind of some action going.
We do.
But in the Ned chapter, I really did like that we were going back and building this friendship between Ned and Robert Baratheon, which is really fun to see, and we're getting some context on Robert. So that was, you know, inside of Ned's head.
This chapter, basically, so it was Ned and Robert on the King's Road. It's basically just the two of them the whole time.
Yeah.
They're going to King's Landing. Robert wants to go riding, just kind of talk to Ned about Daenerys, basically.
Yeah.
And for mainly what I got from this chapter, it was a big info dump on the siege of King's Landing. We got that backstory about Ned finding Jaime on the throne, about kind of the events that got Robert, that put him in the chair.
Yeah.
Do you think that was delivered smoothly? Because I gotta say, it's like when I'm reading this, like I can start to see it now because I know how important those events are. Like I'm now seeing George R. R. Martin thinking, I need to get this information to them.
Yeah.
And so we get like a big kind of monologue from Ned about when I rode into King's Landing and found Jaime on the throne, he was there. Like we're describing these events that are really pivotal, but that we have to have because they're so important to the story.
Shoehorning them in there. Yeah, I wonder.
Well, I mean, that's my question. Like, what was it shoehorning or did it seem natural to you?
A little bit of both. I mean, it was you know, he has established these longer type of descriptions for something as mundane as a cape or something like that. So we're going into events here that are actually pivotal moving forward with the story, so it made sense that he would want to get it all in one spot. And after I read the next chapter, the Tyrion chapter, I kind of
had some more info dumps.
Yeah, I thought to myself, I'm wondering like if the book editor was like, this is the section of the book where we're just going to get it all out of the way, and then we're going to get the story going in the Catelyn chapter. But yeah, no, I thought it was a little shoehorned in there, but I also appreciated it for what it was. It was like, here's all this information. It's not like he hasn't dumped information on us before. It's just been on different things. This just happens to be really important stuff, not fabric and leather.
And I mean, it's not worthless either because it's not just plot, information for the sake of information, because an important part of it is, you know, Ned's telling us this story about finding Jaime on the throne. And, you know, obviously kind of distrusting Jaime from then on. But again, knowing, especially coming from having seen the whole series, we know that it's all about perspective. Like, Jaime lived through that, and he has a completely different idea of what went down and his place in it. Like, Ned does not have all the info here. He does not have the info that Aerys was a crazy guy who was going to burn down the whole place, and Jaime did a really good thing by killing him. All he knows is that
he's a king killer.
Yeah, he's a king killer. So. And that he was sitting on the throne like a jackass when he walked in. And he's had that impression ever since.
Yeah, well, can't blame him, you know. Don't have the context for somebody else sitting on the throne.
You can't blame him, which I like. I think the books are pretty good at doing that thing where there are multiple people and they all, like sometimes in movies and TV, I mean, this is how I experienced this, like, they'll try to paint someone sympathetically, but their point of view is just obviously supposed to be the wrong one. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think that these books do a better job. Like, Ned is wrong, but I understand why he's wrong. Yeah. And I can still like him. Same thing with Jaime. He's wrong about things too, but I still get why, and I can still sympathize with him.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Speaking of perspective, they also talk a lot about Daenerys. Robert wants to go kill her because she's married to Drogo. He's afraid he's going to invade, and Ned advises restraint. In light of what actually happens, I mean, what's funny here is that Robert's, you know, arguing we need to go kill Daenerys, and it's like, no, don't do it. She's a child. Yeah. But she's going to gather Dothraki and come across and take over the Seven Kingdoms, which, unbeknownst to either of them, because they'll both be dead long before it happens, like now in the show, she did exactly that. Yeah. So should they have listened to Robert?
I mean, I guess maybe. It's, you know, it's all about perspective. You don't know. So that was what I also appreciated, or not appreciated, but noticed about this was, and you made a note of this too, the fast travel. Yeah. It's like literally this just happened a chapter ago. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's
before she gets married to Drogo.
And now everybody knows.
And now they're talking about it.
Was
in the
there
next
flyers
chapter.
dropped by dragons or something, and everybody knows now? It's like, come to Drogo and Daenerys' wedding.
Well, I mean, I think it's just time can pass between chapters.
Yeah.
Like, I liked that. Yeah. I liked that they were getting the information quickly. Like, because I think I made the note too, like, later in the books, this does not, it takes a lot longer for news to travel.
Oh, really?
Maybe just because, I don't know, there's more moving parts at that point. But yeah, we had Daenerys and Drogo's wedding in the chapter before this, and then we have Ned and Robert talk about Daenerys' wedding in the chapter right after. Yeah. Which is, I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I would it's actually some movement. I guarantee you, in books 4 and 5, they would take like 4 chapters for that to happen. To get that slowly. So I'm a fan of it. And I think because there were complaints in season 7 about fast travel.
Yeah.
People like, how do you get from there, how does Euron get from King's Landing to Casterly Rock in like the space of an episode?
I guess establishing, something that did stick out to me was establishing that the information can move quickly early on. I guess I don't know that it slows down later in the books. But if that would have been a thing, so like everybody's complaining in season 7 about all the fast travel and all that kind of stuff, this was established very early on that it happens. So it's a thing, kind of the world building thing, not really a big world building thing, but a subtle, if this happens again, don't think it's weird.
Yeah, I was into it, and I thought it was interesting to note that, because it does seem like it slows down later. Also, maybe it shouldn't have.
Is this the first time that Jorah was mentioned? I couldn't remember.
No, because Jorah was with Daenerys and Drogo.
That's right.
He was at the wedding.
That's right. I thought so.
This is when we learn that he's a spy.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so.
So yeah, we didn't know that he's actually working for Robert before then, feeding him. I mean, the information about the wedding came from Jorah. Yeah. That's where this is where this is getting. So I guess that does, you can argue that does explain why it's so fast, because it came right from the source, right to Varys, who's good at information gathering, and then right to Robert.
And that was more like setting up later on. We know that Daenerys and Jorah go through all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she'll find out about this. Yeah. Which again, in 2 books from now, 4 seasons from now, if we're talking show terms, so some long-term planning in this. Yeah. Finally, I always want to point out some new words George R. Martin teaches us. Destrier is the kind of horse that Robert is riding. A destrier, for fun medieval vocabulary, is a horse bred for war, as opposed to a garron, which is bred for like being on a farm and hauling plows or something. So just use that in Scrabble sometime and really impress your friends. All right, the second Tyrion chapter. Jon and Tyrion heading toward the wall. Again, it's kind of like the last chapter, because they're on their way to a place. They do not get there, so it's just them on the way talking. It's kind of also a 2-person chapter too, just like that one. Just realizing now how similar it is. Anything stand out to you from this?
I kind of liked how low key it was, because it was setting up what things are like in the north a little bit. It's just very 2 guys just strolling along. It's not a whole lot of action going on, and it was, I don't know, I made a note here that, Tyrion's monologue that he went on.
Which one?
He was sitting on the one, I forget, it was the really long one, I forget what triggered it, but it was...
Was it the one when Jon was like, why do you read so much?
It was about the
and
book.
then he had like a full page about how important his brain is.
And then I just imagined him like looking listily off into the distance, just saying all of these things that were so important. And it's like, oh man, he was sitting on that one for a very long time. It was very like almost parody, but also cinematic the way that I was envisioning it.
Well, I mean, this time when I read it, it seemed a little long. But I mean, that monologue is in the show. They cut it down, obviously. Yeah. I thought it was funny that that Jon asks him, like, why do you read so much? And literally he goes on immediately for like almost a full page about how, some great lines, like your mind's like a whetstone, you have to keep it sharpened. I'm never going to be a warrior, so I have to be smart or else I can be of no use to anybody, which all makes sense, but he seemed to have that ready.
He was sitting on that one for a while. He was waiting for somebody to ask those trigger words, like, why do you read? And it's like, when you unlock like a Soviet agent when you say something. So like maybe it was that, but yeah.
To be fair, I mean, he may get that question a lot, because I mean, remember, this is a world where, like, when you say that the cream rises to the top, you're not talking about the people who are smart. Like, this is a world where if you can fight, you're probably going to do really well, and if you are like physically stunted, you're like, you may be left out to die. The only reason he wasn't left out to die is because he was born into a rich family. Otherwise, he would just be kind of left in a ditch somewhere, because you don't want an infirm person, because this is like an economy where you're farming, where you're carrying things, where you're a soldier, and infirm people don't really survive.
No. But I also made another note here that not a whole lot happens, which we kind of talked about, which I did like, kind of sets the backdrop of the life that kind of awaits Jon in the north. It's not this glamorous, exuberant life where he's going to have all of the riches of like King's Landing or any kind of thing like that. It's very removed from everything else that we've kind of seen. So it was almost like landing us in this, really this is going to be your life, just standing around talking to guys most of the time.
Yeah,
until
and it's cold.
the White Walkers come or something.
It's like I like the way they were describing. They go further and further north, and there are fewer inns, and the hills turn into mountains, and it just gets more and more wild.
Yeah.
And like this is where you're going to be now, John. It's like the backwater of Westeros, the far north.
Yeah.
There's so much going on up there. Yeah. I also, again, the really, really long-term setup. I really enjoyed the bits we got from Tyrion about his talk about dragons, how he loves them so much, how he's really interested in them. It describes him looking at the dragons in the Red Keep. He stood in that dank cellar for a long time, trying to grasp the size of the living animal, to imagine how it must have looked when it spread its great black wings and swept across the skies, breathing fire. So that's like a young Tyrion looking at a dragon's skull and being like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And I think it's really great that, I mean, like, that will happen.
Yeah.
In like a jillion words from now, in 4 books from now, in, and what is it, like, I guess 4 seasons from now too. Like that there was actually kind of paid off.
Yeah.
Such a long term, I think is great.
Yeah, I like that.
And again, quite evocative and nice. I can picture young Tyrion being impressed by this.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what else happens in this chapter. Did you like the bonding between Tyrion and Jon?
I did, and I felt like a lot of what he was saying in his monologue about like sharpening the mind and this kind of stuff really sticks with Jon moving forward. Like I
could see that.
Obviously, I don't know what happens in the books and how he develops that way, but as the show, yeah, this is more or less the same. And you can kind of, when he was saying these things, I was envisioning an older Jon and the way that he's approaching situations and the way he's making his decisions, and I was like, yeah, I could see like the whole Tyrion thing and everything that he was saying here, and maybe it was just because it was the book, and I've said this a bunch of different times when we've been doing this, but I was more invested in what I was reading than what I saw or I heard on the show. So I liked it, and I thought that the bonding was important.
Yeah, and it is, because I mean,
it comes back. So.
It does. I mean, it's not only emotional and thematic. I mean, their bond literally becomes sort of crucial later, because Tyrion is the one who sends for him to come to Daenerys.
Yeah.
And that's because they know each other. He trusts him enough to come.
Setting up the long play.
Again, it's. I mean, are you impressed by that? Like, can you imagine the foresight you have to have?
Oh yeah.
Again, this book is written over like a period of decades. This series, and to see these things that are planted in chapter 13 pay off in chapter 1300 is very. It shows a breadth of vision.
Oh yeah.
Or he makes it up as he goes along. I don't know, and it just happens to pay off.
Well, if he's making it up as he goes along, he's a lot smarter than we all think he is. But and he's still pretty smart. So.
Exactly. Finally, we got Catelyn 2, the biggest chapter of the lot, and I think the only chapter where we had some action.
Oh yeah.
But first, we have, so in the Jon Snow chapter, we kind of saw Catelyn degrading mentally from his perspective. Yeah. She was like, said that you hadn't left this room in a while. She's with Bran. He's still unconscious. It's weird. It's creepy. She's being really mean to him.
Yeah.
And now we're actually inside her head as she is deteriorating. How'd you like being inside the head of a very upset woman?
Of a woman going mad over her son being, paralyzed. There was a lot that happened. I wrote down here a note that the wheels are starting to turn on the story.
They are.
This was the chapter, and I think you made the note where this is where the action starts moving. So, being inside of Catelyn's head was. It made me question the Lannisters, which I think was supposed to happen, because at the end of the chapter she puts it all together. She's like, Bran's a climber, Jaime wasn't out with the hunt that day, something happened here.
And again, it's very different the way she is in the first, like the chapter is divided into halves.
Yeah.
First she's insane, not insane, but like very distraught to the point where she can't really think clearly. And then she sleeps for 4 days straight and she wakes up really clear-headed.
Yep.
But I really liked the mania of the first half of the chapter. Where she's thinking crazy things, not crazy things, but just dropped things. And then this is one moment where she's with Robb, and the library tower is set on fire, which is bad. And her thought is, there's a fire, is Bran gonna be safe? And realizes that, oh, it's over there, it's fine. Just like, oh, thank God. But like, if you're Robb, and you're like, the castle's on fire, oh, thank God.
Right.
Like, what? And I get why because we're in her head, so I know why she did that. But I also perfectly get why Robb would look at her and be like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
So it's a convincing depiction of someone who's like losing it, but I can get why they're losing it, which I think is a good. It's one of those tricks you can really only do with this kind of point of view structure.
Yeah. I did like the manic nature of that first half of the chapter too. Kind of reminded me of like, not that these are like two similar things, but in the Beavis and Butthead movie, there's a scene where they're like out in the desert and they start tripping on mushrooms and stuff like that, and it's this weird, like, you don't really know what's going on. I mean, they're tripping, and this becomes all this weird animation, and I kind of got that same vibe in the first half of that chapter, where it's just like she's losing it, and it's just, she's intense, and she's just not herself from what we read in the first chapter, what we read in Ned's chapter, and these other chapters she's been in.
To the second half of this chapter.
Oh yeah, and then to move from that into the second half of the chapter, where she is thinking clear, she is going through these things and starting to figure things out. It's like she's returned back. It's like she had to work that through her system, like a fever dream or something.
And also sleep 4 days straight.
Well, as you do when your child has fallen out of a tower and you don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, about the plot, like, do you recall that this would-be assassin who tries to kill Bran? Because it happened on the show.
I didn't remember that. No,
I'm not. Yeah, it's fine because it's weird because it's very important in setting things into motion.
Yeah.
Like this makes her go to King's Landing, and then she brings that dagger, and then Littlefinger lies and tells her that it's Tyrion, so she arrests Tyrion, and then that sets off the whole war.
Yep.
And then in season 7 of the show, like Arya kills Littlefinger with this dagger.
Yep.
But it's kind of weird that the plot with the assassin is almost completely forgotten.
Oh yeah.
Like there are so many. The story is made of so many events, and they're also it's easy for one to kind of get lost.
Yeah.
And even though this is technically really important, because without it, the plot does not happen. It's easy to forget.
Yeah, it reminded me that it had happened, but up until then, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. At first, my first thought was like, I don't remember this happening on the show. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember because that was the dagger in season 7 and everything like that. But like you're saying, yeah, it is kind of something that you forget with all of the moving pieces and everything that's happened over the 7 years that we've been watching the show. And I would imagine in the thousands of pages in the book, you would forget something like this, which is weird because it is so important. But
I mean, but again, it's like what is important? It's like it's just a plot machine. It's a piece of plot machinery. It's not like it has a ton of resonance. It's a MacGuffin-y kind of thing.
A little bit, yeah.
Like I had to jumpstart this somehow, so I had to have something happen. But it also notably in the show they never solve who did it. Like who did it?
Right.
Who was this guy? Who was he working for?
It's a MacGuffin. You're not supposed to care. It just moves it forward. So
who do you think?
I don't know.
You got no guesses?
I've got no guesses.
Okay.
You sound like you have some guesses though.
Well, I mean, they do solve it in the book, or at least they give a good theory. The show just does not bring it up again.
Yeah.
And it still works though because of that whole kind of wave of plot thing.
Yeah.
You can just kind of lose it in there and it's fine. But like they don't really bother bringing it up again. It does get a resolution in the show. It doesn't really even need one though. That's kind of the point. The last question. Oh, we have a question.
Just got an interesting fan theory. I thought it might be a good way to wrap the show up on.
One more point I want to ask you.
Kenny here, and he says he thinks Jon will sacrifice himself to save everyone in season 8. What do you guys think?
Kenny thinks Jon will sacrifice himself to save everyone.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, I don't know how it would happen.
I don't know. I mean, I would imagine he's envisioning something with like he's fighting like the king of the White Walkers or something, the Night King. So maybe. I don't know. I like the idea of Jon sacrificing himself to save everybody because that seems like a very Jon thing to do.
I think it's too simple.
Is it?
I do. I think.
What if the show that's so complicated like this, that has so many moving parts, actually just comes down to something as simple as one man sacrificing himself to save everybody?
Then it would be too much like every other fantasy epic out there. I'm not a fan of it. I hope it's a little more complicated than that.
I'm still hanging on to hopes that it's all in a snow globe, and it's all taking place in a kid who's watching St. Elsewhere.
I would accept that.
It's very meta because the kid is watching the series finale of St. Elsewhere, so it's just oh my god, and it's actually a backdoor pilot to another HBO show, and there you go. Now it's complicated.
I'd respect that because it would put people off so badly.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one more question for you.
Okay.
Rob, Rob Stark, were you surprised if I wrote in my notes? Did you know that he does important character in the show?
Yeah.
he does not ever get a point of view chapter.
I didn't know that.
He's only other people. Does that surprise you at all?
It does surprise me because he looked like he was going to be pretty central on the show for a while.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
but,
he was given equal weight to, Tyrion, Catelyn, Sansa, Arya, Ned. He was up there with all of them.
Yeah. Because I would have thought that it would have been interesting to have like I don't know how they approach the Red Wedding in the books. I don't know if it's like they have it from different people's perspectives, or that would have been a nice one to be maybe. What if Rob got his first person chapter and it's the Red Wedding and then he's killed off? That would have been kind of funny.
That'd be kind of cool.
But yeah, that did surprise me a little bit because he is such a big character on the show. But I'm not losing any sort of character development with him by seeing him through the eyes of other characters, because everybody sees him in a different way. So you're getting him through different prisms, so you're building a picture from different pieces. So I kind of
think so too. Because you got John, they're like, they have like the brother bro kind of friendship.
I like that.
I mean, you got him to, I like him in Catelyn's chapter, he's kind of asking for help. And we see him through the mother's eyes, and he's just 14. He's still 14. He's still kind of a kid. But he's stepping up. He's taking care of Winterfell while she's having her little crazy episode.
Yeah, that's a note that I made, that Rob is showing some leadership, and then we're seeing where he goes from here. This is kind of like a little bit.
And again, it's more impressive in the books a bit because they keep saying he's 14.
Yep.
Again, like middle schooler, where on the show he's clearly not.
No.
Clearly older, so it's more impressive that a 14-year-old steps up. And also more believable that a 14-year-old is like a little wavery and scared when the crap hits the fan.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty good. Fun times were had. I think next week we should read first Sansa chapter.
Okay.
Should be exciting. Getting into Sansa.
Little Sansa.
And then the third Ned Stark chapter. Maybe leave it at that, because then it kind of switches to another plot line.
Yeah.
I
was flying back from Minneapolis this weekend, from Minneapolis to Chicago, and the guy sitting on.
Oh, look at him! He can afford a plane ride.
I know, $79 round trip. So, but the guy sitting next to me was reading Game of Thrones. So
this one?
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you're watching, hello.
Were you like
sitting next to you? So.
I'm reading that too.
He looked like he was super into it. I'm just like, I'm into this when I'm reading it, and like if somebody was tapping me on my shoulders, I was deep into that Tyrion monologue, I would have been very upset. So.
Fair enough.
But yeah. There you go.
We'll be back next week with more Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire news. I'll be back with more chapters of A Song of Dan and Josh, our walkthrough of A Song of Ice and Fire. And we hope to see you there Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time. Have a good day, everybody.